Welcome, everyone. You know it is the end of one football season, and we're knee-deep into proper football, as me and Faz call it. As always, I'm joined by Faz. We're here to watch my Man United versus Southampton. Faz, how are we doing?
It's always proper football when your season gets knocked out. Your team gets knocked out, I should say, a week ago. So, yeah, no, it is proper football. Looking forward to it. International breaks. I just went on the record. I hate international breaks. I think they're pointless, especially coming off. We've just come off Euros. We've just come off Copa Americas. And 3 weeks into a season or 3 matches into a season, you go on international break. Shitful. So it's good to be back.
I mean, it's weird, isn't it, that we've got the international break? Because it kind of just like, you kind of just get into it, don't you? I suppose it's good, though, isn't it? Because it's like, once that international break happens, AFL's over, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think that's the international break is almost like giving that one last, okay, we'll give the AFL one more week. All right, or the and then move on from there. But thankfully, we get to really enjoy what's been a great start to the season. I think for some clubs more than others, Pommy, you would say that it's been a better start to the season. But look, 3 games in, anything can happen from here. But you would have to say that your crosstown rivals look to have it sewed up once again. This early.
Disgust me to say it. Man City, I mean, 3 wins from 3. Liverpool, though, haven't looked so bad under Arne Slot. They seem to have taken to his system pretty well. You've got Brighton, they'll probably fall out. Arsenal, they had the draw last week, but last time out. You would say at the moment they are the front runners. Liverpool, though, have actually impressed me. I mean, the Premier League's great. My 2 rivals playing good football.
Yeah, well, I think with Liverpool, I think one of the thing that's gone a bit unnoticed is Arne Slot's just come in and said, well, I'm not going to completely reinvent the wheel. What's worked has worked. I'm going to keep going with it, and it shouldn't be any surprise that they're still doing what they're doing.
Well, he's got the best out of Mo Salah, hasn't he? Mo Salah, there was talk last year that he was over the hill done, but Slot seemed to have reinvigorated him, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, it certainly helps. If you can have Mo Salah doing it, it certainly helps.
Right, it does. And your boys, West Ham, as Chills comes in, we've got Amy unbranded Chills. We're good, mate. How are you? West Ham, they've come in, new coach, Lopetegui. He's got it's a very exotic name for a West Ham coach, isn't it? But you've started well, haven't you?
It started all right. I think on face value, 1 win, 2 losses. You're a bit like, okay, not ideal, but the game against Man City, I was very impressed. I was very stoked with how we played, even though we lost. But look, this has just got a David Moyes return post-Christmas written all over it, doesn't it? It's just you just feel it. And I don't know if they'll go back there, obviously, again. But geez, it makes me nervous if Sean Dyche gets the sack from Everton. Geez, it makes me nervous if West Ham start failing post-Christmas, because you just know it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I think like when you look at him, you lost to Villa, didn't you, game 1? Which I think everyone's got Villa in that probably top 4 spot till Europe kicks off. It's going to be interesting how Europe affects their squad. But you were impressive against Man City. It has to be said. Like, you actually look like, how do I say this nicely? When you played Man City last year with Moyes, it kind of looked like the setup was to cling on, not lose. I've got to give him credit. You actually look like you went out there to win.
Yeah, well, there was a maybe between the 40th and the 70th minute with the halftime break in between. Obviously, there was a passage where we actually, I actually think we dominated, to be honest. Kudos hits the crossbar and what have you. But anyway, look, ifs and buts and all that. And look, it means nothing. A performance, a great person once said, a performance where you don't pick up points means nothing unless you can pick up points the next game. So if West Ham come out later on tonight and absolutely shit the bed, then it's like, well, what was the point of having a good performance getting beaten by Man City,
Mate, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. And obviously United, would you say it's fair to say Ten Hag's under a bit of pressure already? The big show of faith in him in the off-season. And you would say, I've got a feeling Christmas could be an interesting time. I think he's got to start winning. I think this game here could be a potential banana skin. What do you think, Faz?
I think a lot was played up in that opening day win against Fulham. I thought if Manchester United have got to the stage where they're celebrating a late 1-0, should I say, against Fulham, then how the mighty have fallen. Brighton was a debacle in itself, and then Liverpool. It's just it does have a banana skin written all over it, but I don't think Southampton have been overly impressive personally. So we could be looking at, and I don't want to jinx us, we could be looking at a dull 0-0 tonight, or we could be looking at a high-scoring keepers going affair. But both teams pretty poor at the moment. But let's see. Southampton back in the Premier League. I think they've been bang average. So United, they probably need to get the 3 points. Let's be honest. I'm beating around the bush a bit. They probably need to get the 3 points. All right. Is that what you want me to say?
Yeah. I mean, obviously Southampton have got a player, that Amy, who's in chat. She's a big Arsenal fan. We copped a lot of hate, didn't we? when we guaranteed Ramsdale wouldn't be at Arsenal anymore. Bit of a surprise. Only Southampton seem to be in for him, because I'm a big Ramsdale fan, and obviously United's makeshift young Joshua Zirkzee is going to have to face him. This could be a big outing for him, because I mean, I hope Ramsdale's going to be tested.
Well, Ramsdale, the saddest looking millionaire you'll ever see. I tell you what, that guy could win the Premier League and still look like face like a slapped ass. And I like him. I do like him. But geez, smile, mate. It'll make you feel better. So yeah, I'm sure he's going to be up for a big one. He doesn't have the, going to Southampton. You could say a goalkeeper's only as good as their defense, and he's not going to have the protection in front of him like he did at Arsenal. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he manages, especially earlier on, getting used to that again. And the one I'm looking forward to, and this is a niche reference, this one, but the Colombian Jimmy Giggle at the front, Brereton Diaz. Now, if anyone who knows what Jimmy Giggle looks like, and once you see it, I'm telling you, you can't unsee it. So Brereton Diaz, the the Chilean, I should say, my mistake, the Chilean Jimmy Giggle. I'm looking forward to him flopping and diving as he does.
I mean, so he claims. I mean, the guy was born in Cheshire. Do you know what I mean? I'm about as Colombian as that guy. Let's be honest. Chilean. Yeah, that is probably the most niche reference ever as well. Just gotta say, like as soon as you said Jimmy Giggle, I knew who you meant at Southampton before the nationality. That is gold.
Dead set, mate.
We've got the beautiful Aiden, who's already upset. Rashford. Interesting this, because we've talked about Rashford a lot last year, haven't we, Faz?
Yeah.
And we both kind of agreed he was probably in that pigeonhole of maybe it's time for a fresh start, like for him and for the club. He's stayed, and Eric Ten Hag seems to love this guy, doesn't he? Like, this guy can't get dropped.
Look, if he must, it's hard for us to know what the day-to-day life is like, you know, on the training pitch and all that, but he must do something right, or because I mentioned Ramsdale with a face like a slapped ass. I mean, Rashford's the same, mate. His body language and his facial expressions are just always, he looks miserable. So I don't know whether that's just him, but managers have their favorites. We get that, but he must be doing something right. I can't see it. I thought he needed a fresh start personally, but you could argue once you leave Manchester United, where do you go from there? You know, it can be pretty downhill very quickly. You look at Jesse Lingard, did it, had a rejuvenated his career at West Ham, and what, 12 months later he was, I don't know, sitting on the bench for Notts Forest, and then he was in Japan. And I think some of these players are going to be pretty careful sometimes when looking at a fresh start, because it might not be where you want to go, or where it's best for your career. I look at Emile Smith-Rowe from Arsenal as an example. Gone to Fulham, started fantastically. Could that rejuvenate his career? Maybe. Or is he just going to be a mid-table player for the rest of his career now? I don't know. And Rashford's really got to ask himself that question. And I think that the club, Manchester United, they've got to ask, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a Manchester United legend? Do you want to be a top six player, club top six player, or do you want to be just happy to pick up a wage in the Premier League, which is okay. That's okay, you know. But you do see it a lot when you say these players need a fresh start. Generally, if they're not making it at the big clubs, it doesn't always transfer to just because you go to a lower club. You just, you know, you can make it. It doesn't always work.
Mate, I think that's a fair call, and it's going to be an interesting one. We've got Peter. It's interesting. We'll go through the teams. United have gone with their traditional 4-2-3-1, which is becoming a staple. Anana, Matsurai, De Ligt, Martinez, Delors, Eriksen, surprise starter alongside Manu. Ahmad returns to the lineup. Bruno, Rashford, and Zerki up top. He asked about Ugarte. It was quite interesting that Ugarte did play a lot of minutes for Uruguay at the weekend. Isn't starting for United. Is that a bit of a surprise, Faz? Peter asked. Is that him protecting the player? It's weird that Eriksen's got the role though, but
I don't think it's weird that Ugarte is not starting, but I do think it's weird that Eriksen is starting. So it's kind of two questions for me there. We don't know the condition these players come back from international break. You can only back the club in to make that decision. But Eriksen starting is a strange one. It's a strange one. But I will say, with the midfield that Southampton roll with, his ball use could unlock those passes. It might actually be a stroke of genius. We don't know. But on face value, to me, it's a bit of a surprise, yeah.
Mate, it's interesting. And Southampton's team, they've gone Ramsdale. They've gone their 3-5-2, which Faz loves continental formation from a Bottle 4 club. But they've gone Sugawara, Benarek, Stevens, and then their wing-backs, Diblin, Walkers-Peters, with a midfield three of Fernandez, Downs, and Ugur Koken, with Brereton, Diaz, and Cammy Archer up top. I mean, you expect, don't we, here, Southampton to be chasing shadows for 90 minutes. It's going to be really interesting. Like you said with Eriksen, that's probably the big issue we've had with United when we've done watch-alongs. They have a lot of the ball, do nothing with it. So Eriksen needs that killer ball, doesn't he? Because they're going to sit back in almost a 5.
Yeah, well, they will. So Walker-Peters and Dibley will push back in that 5. But you've also got Flynn Downs, who does a really good job of sitting in front of the back 3 or back 5. Really strong, really defensive midfielder. Ex-West Ham. West Ham actually bought him in the thought that he could replace Declan Rice in that exact role, and obviously it didn't work out back at Southampton. And he does a really good job of sitting in front of that back three. I really like him. So it's going to be difficult. So they're going to have to find United are going to have to find ways around him, around that really solid defense, and not giving away the ball too cheaply, because we know Southampton can push fast on a counter. So maybe we've convinced each other, perhaps, that Eriksen's not the craziest decision in the world, because he can unlock that pass. He can find it. He's an experienced footballer.
No, I agree. I mean, let's hope. We've got a few more. We've got wonderful bang as they take the knee, and kickoff is about to start all the way from Eastleigh. And United kick off. But no, I agree with you. I mean, does anyone else think they just had the Southampton coach on the TV, Russell Martin? Is he the most continental looking English guy in the history of English guys?
Well, if he gets his hair right, he could probably play a Bond villain when he inevitably gets sacked from Southampton. So yeah, no. But even the name just doesn't suit him. Russell Martin,
it doesn't sound like a proper name, does it? As United go through and it's a free kick. I was going to say, how good would it have been if Rashford scored the first after 43 seconds?
Yeah,
I agree with Aiden. I think if United lose this game, I reckon you're going to get Rude. Well, yeah, you'll have Ruud van Nistelrooy by Christmas.
Yeah. Don't. They're not.
I've seen it before. Faz, I've seen it.
We've all seen it. We all seen it. I got actually. It's probably three games in. Right. Let's lay it on the line. Who do you think the first manager to be sacked will be?
Ten Hag.
You reckon? I reckon Dyche.
Oh, Sean Dyche.
Because there is a relatively sprightly Scotsman that's currently unemployed. Who
someone will press the David Moyes panic button,
mate. I reckon I could become a journalist in England. I've got that article already written. Everton lose tonight is like David Moyes waiting in the wings. And I'm pretty sure all they got to do is invite him to a game to watch. He gets seen in the crowd. Mate, this shit writes itself.
David Moyes return to Everton inbound.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
And Peter, refresh your stream on Optus. Mine did that. It took a while to catch up, and then it suddenly did. But that'll be it's Optus, the greatest streaming app in the world.
Yeah, it certainly has its moments. Look, I will say I think it's a bit better now. The first season that Optus took over, I was devastated, mortified of how poor it was. But it's I think it has slightly improved, perhaps.
The guy at the Optus shop actually taught me a trick, and I forgot to do it before the stream. But if you click the cog and change it from auto to the top 720, it never cuts out after that. It's because they've got the auto thing, and it always changes it.
Oh yeah.
And he actually changed my life when he taught me that.
Oh.
You've got to do it every time you turn it on, though. It doesn't remember it in your settings, but it always used to cut out on my big TV, and it used to do my editing.
Yeah,
and then when I re-signed my contract with Optus this year, the guy told me, he was like, "Oh, do you do this?" And I'm like, "You're a genius."
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm here to educate. Well, I mean, we're 3 minutes 40 in. Not much has happened, but you can see, like all teams against United, really looking to attack our midfield. As soon as that ball gets in the middle, that midfield is all over, and they've just forced.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, there we are. I was gonna say you could sense it as I was talking about it, but you can see all teams are looking to put that pressure on United in the middle of the park this year.
Yeah. Well, it's, it's a copycat, league, isn't it? And when they see it works, everyone goes for it. And I think that's why the good managers get paid the big dollars, because you've got to be able to come up with something different. And we'll say, to his credit, before anything even happens, but at least he's made the change, had a look at something different. But we'll just see, as I don't know, as if they're just got to get the result, man. Like, it's just one of those ones, isn't it? Like, I know we want pretty football. We want, you want to win high possession, but also attacking, all this rubbish. But sometimes there's just a game every so often that you just need the dirtiest 1-0 win just to take that pressure off. And I think this is one of those games. You just need it.
I agree.
It's a team you should be beaten,
I agree. I agree. 3 points is impact. I think if United start going with style points, that's probably where you end up losing.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, we just saw there Rashford had a half a chance, ran straight into the centre back. Does anyone else think, like, I don't know what you think, Faz, like Rashford just looks scared to take a player on, where you go back 5 years when he was playing really well. He looked really hungry to drift out wide, cut inside, and take the guy on. It's weird how his confidence seems to have just died.
Yeah, confidence. It's your main strength. You can have all the ability in the world, but if you're doubting yourself for a moment, you picked up the ball, and he does look like that. He picks up the ball and he looks like, well, I know I'm not going to get past him, but I've got to go for the run anyway. So it's dangerous. Dangerous.
It's interesting, but I mean, United going backwards to go forwards. I mean, this is the one thing that I feel United don't do. You've got Zerky on here, and surely, I know it's not probably Ten Hag's style, but my issue over the first 3 games is if you've got a small, quick striker, play him on the shoulder of the last man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. Play to their strengths. Tasty. Tasty.
That would have been the most United thing ever to concede after building an attack up.
Yeah. It would have been. But you're in a bit of a rut, or you're struggling where, and I've seen it before. I've seen it with West Ham many, many times, where you actually don't, when you've got the ball, it's actually doing yourself more harm than good. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you do see it a lot. Like, I mean, to use the Carlton as an example, there were times where Carlton winning it out of the center bounce was actually doing more damage than what it was if we lost the center bounce. And it's the same when you're low on confidence, playing a possession brand of football, you're actually death by 1,000 cuts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, it's fascinating when you say it's scary when you have the ball. Like, that is something I felt with United this year, particularly. We do look vulnerable on the counter, like really vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's the same like with West Ham. You see it. I think Lucas Paquetá, he epitomizes that saying of, geez, you're nervous when he's got the ball, because it's literally he's either going to pull out a pass that puts Jarrod Bowen through in happy days, or he's going to turn it over and we concede. Like, there's no in between with him, and that's why you can't have that. Like, it's just too sporadic. And having when you're feeling nervous when you've got the ball, that's when there's a problem.
I agree with you. Aiden makes a great point. We talked about this a lot with goalkeepers. This fascination with the sweeper keeper. Anana's ball use. People love the distribution from the back. Are you still not a fan of it like me, Faz? Just get a goalkeeper who saves.
Distribution out the back. If you can do it, all the power to you, Man City. Go your hardest. But I've been on this show with you many, many, many times, just laughing at Burnley trying to do it, and it's just like, what are you playing at? Like, why? I don't like it. Some may say Pep has ruined football. I'm probably in that category a little bit.
Look, you see, I don't mind Pep in the terms of he's developed the game, but it's fascinating. Everyone copies him. Like, and I agree. Like, when you're starting to see teams 19th, 20th in the Premier League wanting a sweeper keeper, like, just get someone who's good behind the sticks, mate, first. Do you know what I mean?
Like, mate, he we see it all the time. West Ham fans wanted David Moyes to play a more possession out the back brand of football. And I'm like, have you seen Kurt Zuma pass a ball? Have you seen Mavropanos pass? Like, Kurt Zuma can't even kick a catch straight, let alone pass a ball, mate. Like, and you want to play out the back? Like, that's why when Lopetegui came in, the first thing he did was spend £40 million on a defender who can pass the ball. Shock. Like, it's just, you can't put a square peg in a round hole. You want to pass the ball out the back, you've got to have the blokes who can do it. And again, I would much prefer. It's like you talk about defenders who Wan-Bissaka is a good example, actually. Oh, he's not very good going forward. Like, yeah, okay, but what's he like as a defender? Which is kind of what I want him to do. You know what I mean? Like the same goalkeeper. Geez, fuck, he saves goal. What a shot stopper! Commands his box. Nah, but he's got the touch of an elephant. Okay, but he saves goals. Yeah, cool. I know what I want. Yeah.
But mate, I'm with you, and like it's fascinating. You know, United 6 and 8 like that. When he's two central midfielders, United give the ball away fascinatingly with so much precision. United have built so much pressure on themselves in this last 5 minutes with just loose passes. And that's a big thing, isn't it, Faz? Like, you just talked there about doing the basics. Sometimes do the basics.
Respect the basics. Respect the basics and the game will respect you. It's all sports. All sports, not just football, AFL, rugby, golf. There's a main one. Cricket, every sport. You've just got to respect the basics. If you're trying to run before you can walk, well, you're always going to fail every time. You might be able to pull a moment out your ass, but you're just going to fail. You could any sport, name a sport, and I can give an example about how if you don't get the basics right, what's the point? The reason, and I'll say this, I'm going to shoot Bambi here. There's a reason Steve Smith is absolutely dog shit these days. Yeah, oh, greatest batsman of all time, scoring runs, well done. He shit on the basics. He didn't just disrespect the basics. He wiped his ass with the basics, and now all of a sudden he's shit. What a shock. What a shock. No, it's true, mate. It's true. You may be able to get a little bit of success by being, different, but the moment it gets difficult, you've always got to fall back on the basics. The moment you're in trouble on a soccer pitch, on a football field, you go back to the basics. Get your kick right. Get your pass right. Get your block forward defense right in cricket. You've just got to rely on the basics when you're in the shit.
Mate, I love it. Mate, I'm 100% with you. 100% with you. And we're 10 minutes in, and do you find it like fascinating when you watch United? They always seem to almost have. Sometimes I think we have too many people back. You know, when you watch United, like you saw there, Diaz linked up beautifully there with the centre forward. Just how easy it is to work your way in and around Man United. Like it feels like they're looking at each other. Are you applying pressure? Am I sticking with my man? It seems really discombobulated, that middle of the park, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no connectedness, and it is quite how to explain it? Like, they kind of don't know if they're Arthur or Martha at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Are we an attacking team? Are we a pressing team? Are we defending? Like, is the pressure on them already so great that they're trying to defend? It's like, well, let's not concede. We're away from home, which is just such not. It's not a United. That's pretending to be something you're not. Like that's not United. But it was a good ball. But yeah, I think the connectedness is an issue when you get inside the box. Who's there?
How did he miss that? Save. Had to be made. But
I want to see the replay of this one. Look, he's in the right spot.
Ahmad does some brilliant work. It's Fazzy's boy Ericsson with an absolute delightful ball across the front.
That's what you want.
Just couldn't get anything on it.
Just couldn't get anything on it. But he's in the right spot. It was a beautiful ball. That's what we're talking about.
Mate, it's a good save. I mean, you see though, like you see there United, it feels like when I watch United, particularly their midfield, I don't think our midfield works on and off the ball nowhere near hard enough. Like just creating them little passing lanes. It's almost like here, look, it's so easy to double up on United's midfield because there's no movement.
Yeah, and I think so. Where does it come from? So what? Where can you get it? Do you have players on the bench? Do you kind of go with the youth? Where can you get it? Is more the question.
You see, look, when we play that one-touch football there, it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
But, like, if this is a goal, this could be the goal of the year for us. He whips. You know what? Anyone who crosses the ball and doesn't beat the first man, it kills me.
Yeah. We've had this conversation. We've had this conversation many times, haven't we? Just if you want to talk about something that's gone out of the modern game, the ability to cross is absolute. It's dog shit, to be honest.
Amy makes a great point. United managers not having air, probably because they take a training session at Carrington Road. Mate, me. That's what you want to see. You're right back, drilling the ball straight into the keeper's hands.
Well, I was hoping that was going in because I do have him in my fantasy team. Which, for those wanting to know, my fantasy team has gone to the absolute pits. So I'm relying on anything I can get at the moment. So,
yeah. You know what I always think.
Yep.
Right, that really does me the most. Really does me the most is, and I always think it's back to your point of basics, how you defend and attack set pieces.
Yes,
and United are appalling, absolutely appalling, at defending and taking. Like you saw that set piece there, the ball's come in, no one's attacking the ball. It's such simple clearance. United have been shocking for 2 years. That is my first part of call with any manager. What does the set piece look like? Because it's such a simple and rudimentary skill of the game.
Do you think it's a foreign thing? Like a foreign manager's thing with defending set pieces? Because I know since Lopetegui's come in, I know it's only a small sample size, but West Ham have a zonal now defense to mark corners. And if anyone goes back, have a look at the Onana goal. He basically tapped it in uncontested on the line, like with his head, like headed in uncontested on the line. That's how good the zone worked. But I think, do you think it's a foreign thing? Because I think, your English managers or your UK managers, David Moyes, Dyche, real defensive set piece focus.
Yeah, I mean, I think so to an extent. As United have a break, Rash third fines for Bruno and Connor.
Yeah. Or is it just a shit? Is it just a shit? Shit managers that just don't. I don't know. It's hard to know.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is like Blues makes a great point. Like the set piece coaches now are becoming fanatical, aren't they? fanatical. Like McKenna at Ipswich, he started. That was his niche at the start. I do think it's a forgotten art, Faz.
Yeah,
I do think it is.
Well, my argument would be as well. Maybe it's the chicken or the egg argument. Maybe everyone's just like, well, fuck, blokes can't cross anymore. So what's the point of having it set pieces? You know, like Sebastopol. That's my I've got family that live out that way. Nice place. It's not something I would say.
Melbourne geographics here.
Better than Geelong.
Big Paul listening to us while he plays Fortnite. Mate, give him hell, mate. Give him hell.
Love it.
Give him hell. Ten Hag already making his changes. Let's talk a bit about Manu while they have their drinks break. Do you feel like me? I feel like he's got way too much responsibility far too soon.
Yeah, he needs someone next to him. And again, I don't know who you've got to do that, but he does need a real, like a senior figure next to him. Ericsson's there. Is he I don't think he's the type, but yeah, I kind of agree with Aiden. Maybe he's not a number 6. I don't know, but I like him for what it's worth. I really like him, and you've just got to keep playing him. But he has to have someone next to him.
Well, I mean, it's been fascinating, like the Liverpool game, and you watch parts of the Fulham game. He's really been given that pure defensive role, which for me, he definitely needs that pure. Like you look at Ugarte, he's more of that stopper, which allows him to go two ways. He really needs that. Like it's fascinating that obviously with Casemiro, he had to do it because Casemiro's got the legwork of my nana.
Well, yeah, maybe one player unlocks it all. Imagine, and it has happened. It can happen. One player can change the whole fortunes of your club. But we'll see what happens. Big pressure.
I agree with you, Blues fan. Looking forward to Ugarte. Do you know what I mean? I agree with Peter as well.
You just don't know what he came back like from the international break. I'm not going to pretend I know where or who Argentina played against, but England, South America, like it's pretty far away unless you go that way, I suppose. But I don't know. It's a long flight.
It depends if you believe in flat Earth. Paul with 5 gifted donations. Make sure you give Paul a shout out. He's a great friend of the channel. We love a bit of Paul Hill, so make sure you give him some love.
Love it.
I agree with you, Faz. I mean, you'll never know why Ugarte didn't start. I mean, to be fair, I will compliment Eric on this in the terms of he hasn't rushed players in, which I think is probably the right thing to do. I mean, that would be a show of panic. And
yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's just fascinating. But then again, Eriksen, Casemiro's been shocking last couple of weeks.
The show of panic, it'd almost be up there with playing a 30-year-old 6 months off an ACL in a final level of panic, wouldn't it? Not sure where I've seen that before. But it would be that level of absolute panic and disdain for your other players. I digress, but no, look, it is what it is, and integrating players into the Premier League. We see it all the time. It takes a very special player to come in from foreign leagues into the Premier League and hit the ground running straight away. Managers have to integrate. It's a different league. It's faster. It's stronger than every other league, especially in those midfields. West Ham, you signing Guido Rodriguez, Argentinian World Cup winner, very good footballer, interviewed after the first game, and he literally said he felt like he never ran so much in his life, and that was one Premier League game. So they've got to integrate him in. But again, I do think it's got a lot to do with the international break. I mean, there was reports that Mikel Antonio coming back from Jamaican duty, that he looked too relaxed after coming back from Jamaican duty, so he might not play because he's a bit too relaxed. So too chilled, I think was the word. from
Did
Lopetegui.
anyone else see that video of McLaren?
Yes. With the Jamaicans. Like, yeah, funny. Very funny.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Not a bad little team.
Yeah, you know what? To Peter's point as well about the pivot, right, with United. Am I so simplistic? Because maybe, like, I mean, I've played this game since I was old enough to walk. That one of your midfield two has to be purely stay at home. Am I too simplistic? But that I like to see it. Like, I like to see one midfielder not allowed to cross that halfway line unless he's picking up his wallet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think your best teams have that, and they're the players that don't nearly get praised or spoken about as much as they should. Think of Rodri for Man City. Everyone talks about Haaland, and rightfully so, might I add. I'm not putting him down at all, but the most undervalued player at that football club is Rodri, and I think we say it all the time because he just does the basics and sits where he sits, and I think all the good teams have them. Arsenal have Declan Rice. You know, there's no coincidence that Declan Rice looks a much better player when he's got Odegaard in the team or even Trossard in the team. Because as much as I love Dec, you don't want him driving the ball forward. You don't want him having shots and doing all that stuff, even though he scored for England on the weekend. But
didn't celebrate that.
Yeah, what a wet wipe. You want an absolute wet wipe, not celebrating scoring for your country. Anyway, we digress. But him sitting, in front of the back four, that's his best position. And I think, like you said, that is it old school, or just, again, smart managers have that player,
mate. I sometimes think it's old. You know, on the reference of Declan Rice, as Southampton have been destroying this right-hand side as they get a free kick. On Declan Rice, I started booing my TV at 4 a.m. when Declan scored. And Mrs. P thought Ireland had done the unthinkable and scored. And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. Declan gave it one of these. I was like, I had to boo it.
Honestly, I've watched... I have watched a lot of sport in my time, and I think that's up there with top 5 of the cringiest moments I've ever seen. When Declan Rice scores against Ireland for his country and gives it one of these, mate.
Yeah, it was the people defending him, going, "Oh, he's been capped by Ireland," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's fucking English." Like, you know what I mean?
Like, if he scored against West Ham and does that, great. Love you, mate. Right? But it's Ireland. Like, it's not. I would hazard a guess that he hasn't stepped foot in that country since he played a game for him. So
I put money on if you removed Belfast, Dublin. And I'd give him the whole of Ireland.
Yeah.
And said to him, name me another place in Ireland. He couldn't. I did. And I'll give him North and South. So I'll let him have Belfast and Dublin.
And then,
I'll be
obviously,
name another fucking place.
Yeah. And then, obviously, we got the Grealish doing the celebration of all celebrations, mate. I thought he was going to jump in the crowd and chug a beer. That's.
I hate to say it. I'm a big fan of Jack Grealish. I'm a big fan. But I mean, a couple of chances there for Southampton. Airily, United look really vulnerable, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. That corner just before, not ideal. Amy, yes, Dec has scored against West Ham, and no, he did not celebrate.
Did you do that?
He did. Gave it one of those.
Ahmad from about 90 metres away. He's appealing for a handball. I think, mate, put your weight on your back foot, you'll get that to swing around the centre back, mate.
Yeah. Yes. So Nart Deck is a good man. Sometimes.
Mate, that was one of my favourites. That I agree with you. Like, I couldn't believe I've witnessed a Cockney refuse to celebrate against Ireland because his nan once put some fucking Guinness in a stew. Like, you know, what is going on? Yeah. Celebrate, mate. You be right.
Oh, mate. Do you remember Martin Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Martin Allen, I was listening to a thing with Martin Allen. He was saying, because they brought this up about Deck scoring and then you're not celebrating, and Martin Allen, who never obviously played for England, but they said, "Oh, I'll finish this story later." Oh dear. Let's have a look at this. So they've given a penalty.
So Delors got in for the tackle there. I thought in real time he got ball then man, but that was a quick decision, and it's Diblin again. He was being an absolute nightmare. Him and Sugawa. Oh no, he has missed the ball. He's missed the ball so far. The only question here is it in the box?
I think his foot is outside the box. Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah, what's more impressive for Diego Dalot there is to totally miss the ball.
What's more impressive is he's trying to argue about it.
Nah, come on. Wait, every foul in history, you always give it that.
Jeez, mate, I've done some pretty bad tackles in my time, and yeah, gee whiz. Yes, Amy, we have got an argument about Declan Rice because he is a flog. All right, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but he's a sellout, and that's okay. That's okay, Pom. Someone offered me stupid money, I'd probably leave as well. But hey.
Well, I mean, they haven't.
He sold out on Ireland and he sold out on West Ham. He's a piece of shit.
You also copped a bit of hate when he captained England and you brought up Ireland, which is one of my favourite tweets you've ever done.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't even remember it. But yeah, that was good. Shit, that was good. I want to find that, actually.
So the penalty stands. And Dalot there, I mean, to be fair, it's appalling defending, and United need to do something about that right channel, but penalty has been awarded. Anana, all the hopes and dreams. Yeah?
Let's go.
Well, we know this penalty's going bottom left as we look at the screen, so Anana's right.
Oh!
Tell you what, there we are. Pom called it.
That is a save. That is a save.
Well, he's gone, as I said, bottom left. Right, so there you are. I can read a pen. As a striker, I can read a pen. Saw it in his eyes.
I like it.
Saw it in his eyes. That was bottom left. To be fair, as a striker myself, shit pen. Never go bottom corners.
Nah. Agreed.
And if in doubt, hit it hard. But I think even if you get the corner in a bottom corner, I still think it's savable.
Yeah, agreed. I do agree.
I think if you have the aerial flightness of a goalkeeper, it's a bit harder.
Yeah. How do I search my own Twitter for that? I want to find that Declan Rice tweet because that was a classic.
To be fair, I would. So if you click your profile,
yeah.
Can you do that? Oh no, you can't.
I don't even know. Yeah.
I
think someone got to search it for me.
Yeah, look, I'll search it for you. Look, while we watch this game because I love you. Right, where are you?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Can you not search people's things anymore?
I don't know, man. I reckon you can because that many people bring up shit I posted that long ago that they've got to be able to search it somehow. Oh, I'll keep you posted, Xerxes.
Oh, Zerky has a shy from outside the area. I know how to do it on my phone, if that makes it easier.
All good, all good.
No,
anyway.
I'll do it on my phone. Well, we'll find out what Faz was up to.
Oh,
United, they've got a corner.
Yeah, you keep watching that corner.
Declan Rice. Faz, you've spoke about Declan Rice way too much on your Twitter, just so you know.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Bruno, great ball in. Yes! And delete. Off the mark for United.
There he is.
And tell you what, that we've slagged off set plays. I'm a big fan of that midfield with the ball in that way. Always good to head.
No, it was good.
Here we are, Faz. I've sent you it on Facebook. So it's honestly, it's an absolute dickhead tweet from Faz. Absolutely needless.
Look at it.
But the goal is a peach. Short corner by Eriksson.
Yeah.
Ball in on 5 yards outside of the area, straight to the back post. Lovely in-swinger. Straight into the ground as you taught in training. Delete off beautiful. The mark. And heartbreak for Southampton. How often does that happen in football? You score, you miss a penalty, next 5 minutes, the opposition score.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the celebration with the whole VAR thing there?
I think it was a love heart.
Oh, it was a love heart. Yeah, okay, it was a pretty square looking love heart, but anyway.
He's Dutch. They're not known for their drawing outside of Van Gogh.
Oh, mate. To be fair, that's an elite tweet. Congratulations to Irish international Declan Rice for his first
so petty.
I always knew you would captain England one day in your 53rd senior international appearance, because that was the joke, because it was his 51st, but he played 2 for Ireland. Never forget where you started. Good times.
You got some abuse for it as well, which...
Yeah, I did. That was a brutal... Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna retweet it.
It's a classic. I agree with Aiden here. Aiden said he's not convinced. To be fair, would it be harsh to say, as a United fan, against the run of play?
Nah, I don't think so. Because I think you've had the better chance. You had the Zerky one that just rolled past. You had a corner. I think other than Southampton's penalty, I don't think they've really... they had a shot. Nah, I think United have been the better team, personally. But I do have low standards, so...
Yeah. You know, this is the bit, though, right? I feel like here, this is where you're like Zerky's got a bit of pace. He's also got a bit of height, right? And he's got a bit of strength. But have you seen this? Like, Rashford drops so centrally, Zerky goes out wide. I feel like at times United, when they had Weghorst, was kind of like you could see how Ten Hag wanted to play. Someone to drive the ball in. The problem was Weghorst had the feet of Oscar Pistorius, but it feels like he's missing a rather big Rasmus Hodgland type piece, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a good ball.
Take him on, Ahmad. Take him on.
He goes.
Don't be scared. Bruno!
Yeah.
I tell you what, if I had a penny for every time Bruno lined up to take a shot or a cross and hit the guy in front of him, square in the chest, like, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah. I think, speaking of Weghorst, to go from United and now playing Championship, I mean, talk about a fall from grace as well.
Well, I mean, I remember you and me covering it. Like we were saying, it was the biggest demotion in the history of football. CR7 to Weghorst.
Yes.
It's a bizarre switcheroo, isn't it? But I do, when I watch United, like for me, I think Rashford, even though he naturally comes inside when he's doing his best work, I think like you watch what Ahmad did there. He gets the ball and then he drives centrally from a wide position. You don't see Rashford do that anymore.
No, and I think that's
ball. And United got lucky there if he could have kept his feet.
Couldn't get it out of his feet, young Flynn. Yeah, I think that's on the counter here.
Ahmad,
that's
what
a ball.
Rashford through on goal, and
that's a save. That's a good save.
That's a good save there. Tell you what I like about Ahmad though, and this is where I think United need someone to drive from the midfield. See how Ahmad there, just every time he gets the ball,
he
drives the ball forward. Yeah. We need more of that.
Yeah. But that was a good save, let's be fair.
Good save by Rambo.
Let's see another corner. What's the third corner?
Weird that Rashford there didn't try and take that with his left, though. Would have opened up the angle.
I did. I would have thought, that's what he would have done. But and again, that's probably the confidence. He's probably just like, I need to get the shot away. When you're lacking confidence, you probably don't. That's it. Oh, that's a finish, but I reckon it's going to be offside.
Rashford, I think that's a cross-come shot, we'll call it. I think that's the old 50-50, but he's bending it round, and it's one of them horrible, horrible balls that bounces up in front of the keeper, and it's snuck through. Wonder if that's come off anyone as it's gone through.
And keep an eye on if they're in an offside position.
I think Martinez manages to drag back as the ball's there.
Yeah.
Tell you what, that's clean as a whistle.
Yeah, that is. That's a good finish. Get out of the
way.
Tell you what,
hopefully that's everything Rashford needs, because we were just talking. He needs that confidence. Well, there's the confidence. Great to see Rude as well. Back at United. I'm a big fan. Tell you what, there was a man who could finish.
Oh, what a player. And in my opinion, peak Premier League. There he is. There's the Ramsdale we love. A face only a mother could love.
To be fair there with Ramsdale, though, like you can see he's incredulous with his defence. No one, that's 2 times in a row that United have got it out to just outside the box and not one person's put pressure on that ball.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned that before the game, you don't have quality defenders like Arsenal's defence in front of you now. You've got with all due respect, a championship level defence in front of you now. And I think and you know what? I hate that saying, with all due respect, with the utmost absolute disrespect to Southampton. They've got a shit back four. So it's a different level. You know what I mean?
Blues fans not confident Rashford's going to find form. You know what though?
I love that.
I miss old Rashford. I miss old Rashford. So I'm hoping he finds it. But I mean, sometimes they've just got to go in, haven't they, Faz, to find the confidence?
We spoke about that. We absolutely spoke about that when I said about getting the win. Here it is.
I'm not too sure why Bruno squared that.
And it's a good save by Ramsdale again. And he's getting very upset. You're not at Arsenal, mate. All right, you've actually got donkeys in front of you, bro. That's a ball and a half too, isn't it? So we're speaking at the start about, there are games where you just got to get the win. Like, you just have to get the win. And you think Rashford just had to get a goal. Like, you get that goal, the pressure valve releases. At the moment, a couple of minutes till half time, this is everything you wanted has happened. Getting a 2-0 lead, Rashford on the score sheet. This is what, and De Ligt obviously scoring as well. This is everything you wanted. So far,
I agree with you. I mean, I think what's great as well is, I mean, the goals have come from Delit, which, like you say, I mean, welcome to Manchester. Your first start away from home gets you into the faithful. And I agree with Aiden. Like, I think we'd love to see Rashford score a classic goal, but every goal counts, doesn't it? Like, this game, though, if you're at half-time and you're Eric, you're telling him he ain't going to come against a worse defence than this in the league. Like, I'm going to give you 90 minutes. Have fun.
Sometimes that's what you need. That's just you. Excuse me. You need that to You need an easy kill, and it is the Premier League that there's no such thing as an easy kill, but this is as easy as a kill as you're going to get as a striker, unless you're maybe when they come up against Leicester. But this Southampton team, it's not impressive, Mate,
I agree. Well, I mean, good half for United. United have broken down, but we talked about it with the missed pen. How many times do you see this in football as Mighty Blues is in? Good day to you, Pete, mate. How often we see you miss a penalty and it's almost like it sucks the life out of your team?
Oh, mate, it's a momentum changer. It's absolutely, you should score every penalty you get. Like, and I know that doesn't happen, but the reality is you should be scoring every penalty you get. For it to not score it is one thing, but the moment conceding moments after missing the penalty, I mean, that's just, it's soul destroying. And I think, you talk about momentum swings in all sports. Nothing swings momentum more than a missed penalty. I don't care what anyone says. Nothing swings momentum more, because if you score a penalty, you're up and about, of course. But the team who saves a penalty, they celebrate that harder than the team who scores. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, saving a penalty is better than scoring a penalty. So it makes the team absolutely explode. And
when it's 0-0, it is like Russian roulette of momentum in it, because whatever the result, one team gets a boost.
Yes, yeah. And I think we've seen them all. We've seen penalties to draw a game, to win a game, to miss penalties. And I could just think of many off the top of my head. Fabianski, ironically, saving a penalty against Fulham, who West Ham played today, we're winning 2-1, and he saved a penalty in the 89th minute, and we ended up winning 2-1. Mark Noble coming off the bench against Manchester United to draw a game, penalty in the last kick of the game, missed it, and Mark Noble only missed 2 penalties in his entire career. So we've all seen him, and it's like a goal after the siren in footy for the footy fans out there. You always seem to remember the penalties you miss rather than the penalties you've scored.
Mate. Good night, Amy. Great to see you. As Ramsdale clears his lines. But United will go in with this happy, because that 2-0, they always say it's the worst scoreline in football, don't they?
The only people who say it's the worst scoreline in football are the blokes who were 2-0 down. Because I don't care what happened, what that famous time it happened. Mate, if you offered me 2-0 at halftime, I'd bite your arm off every single time. Every single time.
Well, I mean, it's important to hear, I think, what we've seen. I mean, the big question mark of United is when they defend, they get really, really narrow, which we have seen. Southampton have been looking to exploit that. But United have looked to play it down out wide, get a man in, which really has created the 2 chances, because the corner's off Ahmad's hard work. So he's been a bit of a breath of fresh air in this game, hasn't he?
I've really, really liked him. Very impressive. Very impressive. And I think the chances he's creating, the opening it up, we spoke about at the start of the game, was it going to be Ericsson to open up with those passes? Turns out it's been Ahmed. And Ahmed, I think that's, you've got to give credit where credit's due. And one thing I hate when people criticize a bloke is not giving him his flowers when he deserves them. Ten Hag, I think he's got it spot on this game so far.
He has. I mean, it's interesting, it, because it's all like, if that goal goes in against Southampton, we're probably talking about Ten Hag.
Yeah, fine margins.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Is this the doom rattle? Do you know what I mean? Is it death rattle? But 2-0 in, and
the fine lines.
Momentum.
It's the fine lines. It's the fine lines of this sport, mate. And that's why it's the greatest sport on the planet. Because one missed penalty is the difference between us saying, geez, Erik ten Hag deserves credit for this, versus, I wonder which manager's available midweek. It's madness.
Yeah, mate, Southampton score and Pom's there going, be great if we could maybe get David Moyes on the phone.
Moyes. You got me, Moyes.
But, I mean, strong start. I mean, 2-0. It's job half done. One fortuitous goal maybe from Rashford. One good finish there from Delete. But United will go in this, and really it's the next 15 minutes, isn't it? We always say that after half-time, but Southampton have got to take it to United, and one more goal kills the game off, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, I'll be interested to see how they come out after half-time, because I don't know. I mean, they've got Maxwell Cornet on the bench, a bit of pace, bit of experience. Could he come on, make a change? But it is the first. If it gets to 60th minute, still 2-0, you're probably definitely close to being home. So, yeah, I think... What was my tip to you? Do you remember what I texted you my tip was for this game? Out of curiosity.
On it 3-0.
I think it was a bit north of 3.
I think you got excited.
I said 5-0 United. I'm on, mate. I'm on. That's on.
There you are. Look, hey, tell you, Faz might be the United lucky charm.
Yeah. Well,
it's one of them games, though, isn't it? That is so important, because you win this game. Like, we always talk about momentum, but the vibes are low, aren't they? You've got your Brighton loss, your Liverpool loss. I think one of the most unforgotten things that people forget about in sport is sometimes you've just got to win. And one win turns into 2 wins, 2 wins turns into 3 wins. Like, you've got to get that positive vibe as quickly as possible, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to. And wins make everything better. You can forgive I've already forgotten that shit tackle. You know what I mean? What shit tackle? It's wins.
I mean, that's probably something it will be in Ten Hag's team talk, won't it? Like, that how easy it was for them to get that overlap. And I mean, you can blame Delors in that instance because it is a horrendous tackle, but you don't want your left back subjected to a 2-on-1 overlap, do you?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, yeah. Geez, my phone's just gone nuts. Have you checked the footy scores? I didn't care much about the game, but everyone just messaged me about Brisbane anyway. They must be coming back.
Brisbane 1 point behind.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I didn't realise AFL was still on.
Yeah. I watched a bit of the first quarter and tuned into the real sport, and evidently all my mates have been messaging the shit out of me. But yeah. Oh well.
They've just kicked a goal, evidently, as well, Brisbane.
So GWS shitting the bed 2 weeks in a row. You love to see it.
Well, I mean, it's no secret that Pom hates GWS.
Frauds FC, was it? The bottle jobs. BWS.
Yeah,
Isn't that what you call it?
BWSFC.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I mean, you have it in our football as well, Faz, don't you? You know, just managers that seem to get ridiculous amounts of kudos for doing little to fucking nothing. Like my big one in like our game, Pochettino.
Oh yeah. Well, because he made Tottenham relevant for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Like every year, like Pochettino is literally, in my opinion, he is the soccer version of Kingsley. Like, took over the best Spurs side we've ever seen, recruited the most two obvious signings out of them all, and then has got a career off the back of that one good Champions League.
Yeah. And he's just getting paycheck to paycheck. And I'd love to see what his payouts have been from sackings or Pochettino. What do you reckon?
Oh, I don't think they'll be obscene. I mean, he's the highest paid manager, isn't he, now internationally? He's just taken over the USA's job.
Yeah. Oh, mate.
But like, and that's what I see about Kingsley. Do you know what I mean? Everyone goes, great coach. And I'm like, he's taken over a side that had played, 4 of the last 5 final series?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it'd be like giving me the City job and being shocked when I win a cup.
What a coach.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? When I've got 40 players to choose from, like the hardest thing I've got to do is which 11 am I using this week? Like, must be a long job, that City job. Oh, God. Got Haaland up front. This will be difficult.
Yeah, I did think that, you know, what cushier job, honestly, what cushier job is there in the world than a manager of an international team that's just a mid-range international team, like the USA, for example?
Jamaica. Yeah, I think USA is a fantastic job.
In it, mate,
in the terms of like, you're not expected to win it, and because now you're in like the Copa America and stuff. Like, you're not expected to win the Copa America either. So really getting out the group stage.
Yeah.
And also think in America, they've got billions. So they're throwing billions at that. So you play the youth a bit. You've probably got 12 years. If you're Poch now, you've probably got 12 years because you could just start saying, I'm going to play 18, 19-year-olds, really back our academy. Yeah. In America, it's a beautiful place to live. It's pretty much I agree with you, Faz. Like, the American job must be the greatest job ever.
I just think how cushy, mate. Go live in Miami. You know, I might just go check a couple of games out. Taxpayer dollars. I'm just gonna fly over, back home, watch a game. Like, I mean, what a job. What a job. I reckon being the Australian manager would be pretty cushy as well, to be honest. Just live on Bondi. Just, I don't know. I just think the manager's job, unless it's one of the big teams that expected to win everything, there's no pressure.
Yeah, you know what, right? Like, I agree with Paul. It is a bit like Chris Scott of the Cats. Like, it took him a while, though. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he won it first year, but it took him a while to back it up. But it's a pretty good base. You know the Socceroos, though?
Yeah.
And I know you're a big advocate of the Socceroos. You've got Graham Arnold in, right? Can I just ask, why don't you ever go like big name foreign manager? Like, you've done it a few times. You've skirted with it. You had Gus, didn't you, at one point? And
yeah, Gus Hiddink.
Didn't you have the greatest Pom of all time, Terry Venables, at one point?
Yes.
Yeah. Hotel.
Yeah. Why? I think it's simple. Money. I don't think Australia takes it serious. Graham Arnold's a cheap option. So
You see, it makes me sad because you look like I tuned in. Like we'll have to do some watch-alongs for Australia, but I tuned in like that Indonesia game.
Snooze-alongs, mate.
That Indonesia game, one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was the Bahrain one was just as bad, mate, earlier on. So, yeah.
Like what do you think it is? Is it you? Is it just the academy? Because I look at the Australian squad and it really lacks, doesn't it? That like star. Like when I look at the Australian team, it's just, how do I say it nicely? 'Cause I don't want to poo on it because I actually want you to do well, but it just feels like I'm looking at a championship side.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Nah, I don't know. It's they got the players, but they've always lacked a striker since Timmy. But yeah, what do you think? I've lost you. Have I lost you?
No, I'm thinking it's. Well, I mean, maybe it's like the pathways are cut, but I find it hard to believe that when I was a lot younger, you had Cahill, you'd gone through the generation of Q, Viduka, Craig Moore, like you've always produced good talent. It just feels balmy to me. You guys have kind of stopped in the last 6-7 years. There doesn't seem to be the influx of superstars that we used to see.
Yeah, and I think not enough players. When Australia had their golden era, they had, as you said, those players all playing in the Premier League. Not enough players playing. A lot of our young Socceroos players end up in Holland, and a lot of them play in the Scottish League, which I don't know why. The development's just not there, and I think they really missed a trick. And it evolved very quickly because in typical Australian fashion, the people jumped on and Australia were making World Cup, and then Australia made 4 World Cups in a row, and it's kind of lost that magic where people think it's just a fait accompli that Australia should be making World Cups, where those who understand actually celebrate making the World Cup because that's a magic moment. So I feel like fans, how do I say this without offending people? Soccer fans are part-time in Australia. You see it. Fed Square gets painted green and gold when they're in the World Cup. Half empty stadiums, full empty stadiums when they're playing World Cup qualifiers and stuff. Like Australians are very part-time when it comes to supporting their Socceroos. So I think that actually plays a part too.
It seems really sad because like I was back in England when you had your golden generation. Like I remember you were like it's weird because there's kind of a rivalry between Australia and England, but genuinely people were up and about for Australia in England when you were in the World Cup. Tim Cahill doing the boxing on the corner flag. And when I came over here, I always thought, well, that's probably about 8 years after that. So I would have imagined that would have inspired a generation of kids who were playing with an egg-shaped ball. Suddenly, I want to go and play in a World Cup.
Yeah.
And it seems like the players coming through in Australia just aren't the level. Just looking at the national squad for this fixture, you've got Joe Gogsy, who's the reserve keeper at Villa, but there's no Premier League representation outside of that. You've got it's weird because you're looking at the best. You've got Scottish teams. You've got a second division. You've got that Nestori guy, Iran Kunda, who you're all raving about, but obviously he's playing reserves at Bayern. But there isn't that talent there, is there? Like it seems to be a beautiful squad, but there isn't that pin your hopes up type guy.
No, and it's like who is the poster boy for Australia? And you're spot on. There just simply isn't one. And I think, yeah, yeah, the NPL was a mistake in getting rid of. Sorry, the A League has just been getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know. I think the A League tried to evolve too quickly as well. Like, it was really good when it was just that boutique league that everyone knew it was a shit league, but we still watched it. Australian talent was playing in there, and now it's more, well, which washed up internationals can we start getting? And I'm not saying that they didn't get washed up internationals back then, but I mean, the fact that Juan Mata is a marquee signing for the A League, it's like, come on, man. Like, come on. Yeah.
Mate, great question. Great. You know what? I'm a firm believer without promotion and relegation.
Yeah.
And I say this to one of my mates works in the MLS at the moment, and he does a lot of the academy out there trying to get the next wave through. And I always say to him, I don't think America will ever be good until you have promotion relegation, because I was like, otherwise you're always encouraging and there's no risk reward. So youth doesn't have to be played. There's no progression. Like in the World Cup, that's a progression from shit qualifiers to the big time. And I just think you've got to have promotion relegation because it filters through different academies, but it encourages academies as well. It encourages a team to focus on youth.
Well, the other one as well is the success of the league. You've either got to have promotion relegation or you've got to have a draft, because if you're going to finish on the bottom of the table, there has to be something other than, like, what do you get? What do you get? You know, you finish on the bottom, you get relegated. Okay, cool. Then you can build your squad again. But you finish on the bottom in the A League, there's no draft, there's no nothing. You just got to hope that you can sign some players. And then, shock horror, then teams come in and sign your best players, and you're just going to be on the bottom with no consequences versus no reward or no was it I can't think of the word, but there's no drive, there's no want or encouragement to try and get better.
Mate, I'm with you. And I think what you said about the fans is true, because Australia making just the group stage. Like, when you think, because I always judge an international team by its domestic.
Yeah.
Right? It's domestic league. And I think England made the mistake of going big time, getting foreigners in. You're starting to see that less and less English players thriving in games. I think that's a mistake. And I think England are a consummate failure at big tournaments because they have the best league in the world. Like, we should be producing the best kids in the world. But I think Australia, you look at its league, it's for it to be in the World Cup with everywhere else, it's mental, isn't it? It's mental.
Yeah, and it's not lost on people who understand the sport and who love the sport. It's, but it is something that, I've always had a bit of an issue with, and I know we've obviously gone down a bit of a rabbit hole with this conversation, but it is your typical Australia fan, and Goken's 100% right. How awesome was it with the Matildas and what they were doing, and that game against France? Where are they now? But I think it's not just soccer fans or football fans; it's Australian fans in general. You watch Richmond; they'll get 15,000 to MCG games next season and the season after. Hawthorn, 2 years ago or a couple of years ago, they were blaming Mother's Day for a reason they got 13,000 to a game at the MCG. The Australian fan, typically fair-weathered, and I'm being typical here, right? And I'm Australian, so I'm shit can of my own country, so don't come at me. But the Australian fan is typically fair-weathered, typically part-time. And that's just a reality. And I think that stems down for the whole country. You know, we Australians love. Everyone thinks about Australia, they love an underdog. I think it's the opposite now. Australians loved it when McGrath and Warne and Ponting were taking the piss year after year after year. All of a sudden, cricket's shit. Cricket's shit. Why? Because our team's shit. They're fair weathered. They don't rock up in numbers. Where you talk about the English fans and the Premier League fans, it's honestly, West Ham could win 0 games for the season, and the old Upton Park would still be rocking. The walls would be falling down week in, week out. And I think that's the problem. Australians in general are pretty fair weathered. Yeah, maybe that's the wrong word. Maybe it's just relaxed. Maybe it's just chilled. Whatever you want to say about Australians, but I think fair weathered is a pretty fair example. A pretty fair.
No, I know what you mean. I think Koken nails it because do you remember SEN? Never forget that because we knocked you out in the semis. Like, and they changed their logo to the Socceroos colours, the Matilda's colours.
Yes.
But then they changed it before the 3rd, 4th playoff. And like I was saying to people, it's huge this for you guys and girls because you get to finish 3rd in a major title championships. It's huge.
Yeah. And SEN jumped off straight away. And I think that shows the time. That's just the sign. It's just a sign. And I think actually it's funny you say that because there is something that's crept in, starting to really creep into Australians that I'm really not like, or Australian media, I should say, that I'm really not liking. I look at Fox Sports and I look at SEN a little bit, more so Fox Sports. And when there's more articles on them, on countries like England and stuff when they're bad than articles about Australia when they're good. I'll give you an example. The England cricket team, every single time the England cricket team fails or BugsBell fails or whatever it is, Fox Sports Australia will have an article about BugsBell, it's shit, right? And that's really crept in to our country of we'd sooner shit can other countries when they stuff up than actually look at our own backyard and realize, well, we're shit. Do you know what I mean?
No, I've got to say, it's new to me in this country because the British media, like, we enjoy Italy failing, Germany failing for obvious reasons, but it's not a real big thing. Like it's the English-Australia rivalry I find fascinating because outside of cricket, no one else in England cares.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one in England cares. Like,
it is fascinating. It is fascinating.
Like,
I think, the thing that fascinates me, like England lost a test match to Sri Lanka. Mate, there's an article on Fox Sports Australia. BugsBell fails against Sri Lanka. I'm like, why do you care? Like, what is this? It was just so bizarre. It's just something I've noticed perking up a little bit. And then, Australian fans, when England in the World Cup, it's like, oh, who are you supporting, England or who'd they lose to in the World Cup? Who beat them? Spain, right?
Yeah, Spain.
Who are you on? And all the Australian fans are like, we're on Spain. I'm like, try and forget that you're not playing cricket here. This isn't the England cricket team versus Spain. This is like, it just really blew my mind that the Australians hate England so much in everything just because of the relationship with cricket. Maybe it's deeper than that. I don't know, but it's just, I find it bizarre. But people say, how can you criticize the footy and how can you criticize, like, I'm laughing at this Ken Hinkley fucking Hawthorn scenario. People are making it a big deal. I'm like, why isn't it a big deal? Because I watch it. I watch a real sport. Like, I don't watch this Mickey Mouse, because AFL is Mickey Mouse 90% of the time. And I don't know. I watch a real sport that deals with real issues, not making big issues out of nothing because you need a story every 5 minutes.
I agree. I think you've nailed it. As Ahmad tees up Zerky. But no, I agree with you, Faz. I just find it fascinating because I think Australia is like a country in the UK. Like, you guys are like the sporting mecca. Like, because as for someone my age, every sport has had an Aussie be good at it. So, like, you look at Leighton Hewitt, baseliners can't win at Wimbledon. Like, Hewitt bucked that trend. Do you know what I mean? Like that was the thing. No one, he's never going to win a Wimbledon because he doesn't serve and volley. And it was the Aussie grit. And the Poms fell in love with Hewitt. My nana, it was Tim Henman when he got knocked out in the quarters. She was Team Hewitt. Like it is weird. I've never seen the Australian-England rivalry because to me it was a cricket thing. But, I remember London Olympics. Like it was an English-speaking country or England. Like you'd support England if they weren't in for a medal. You'd jump on Fiji. You'd jump on Australia, New Zealand, Canada. It was really anyone but the Yanks. Like for us, we've got more of a rivalry with the Americans.
Well, that's right.
Do already.
And I think it's England. You know, obviously, most of my family are English. I consider myself Australian, but obviously a lot of my family is English, and they love the Poms. Love Shane Warne.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Massive
like,
fan.
and I even look at, you talk about cricket, right? I even look at the Indians, and they loved Steve Waugh, they loved Ricky Ponting, but it's very hard for some reason for an Australian to sit there and say, "Geez, I loved Freddie Flintoff," or "Geez, I love Ben Stokes." It's a real difficult thing for Australians to admit. The Dacos one is a perfect example. It's very hard for Australians to admit the Dacos is good unless you go for Collingwood, and I find it quite a bizarre personality trait for basically an entire country. So I just I think this maybe it's got to do with there's too much choice for Australians. Like what is our national sport? And don't say AFL because it's not our national sport. It's played in one state. Right? Like, what is Australia's national sport? Maybe that's why, as a country, we aren't fully rusted on, because Victorians, we hate the rugby. In New South Wales, they hate the footy, so we hate each other. Like, Victoria's got a bigger rivalry with New South Wales than Australia does England. It's just fucking dumb. So, what is our number one sport? Is it rugby? I don't know, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe we haven't been able to fully rust on support as an entire country because we actually don't have 100% of sport that we are addicted to 12 months of the year.
I suppose,
that's a great call. That's a great call, Jack. I'll pay that one.
What wasn't Ian Botham though only like because he punched Greg Chappell in a park?
Yes, because the only people who hate Greg Chappell more than English are Australians.
You know what? I'd counter this Blues fan. I would say, like, obviously I haven't lived back home for 13, 14 years, but during the Ashes, always complimentary, aside from when you've done anything dodgy. Do you know what I mean? So, no doubt the English media picked on you for the Bairstow thing, but I mean, so did an entire fucking country. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's what happens when you win, you lose. The articles I saw about Stuart Broad for not walking.
The Stuart Broad one is that was one of the worst. Yeah, the worst victimization of a person, and that's from Australian media that I've ever seen. But
you expect it if you do something dodgy. Do you know what I mean? If you do something dodgy,
but it's like the Sam Mitchell scenario. The absolute irony that Australians take the moral high ground when it came to Stuart Broad. Like, Australia took the moral high ground of Stuart Broad not walking. It still blows my mind. Yeah.
It is funny because I've got to say, like in the UK as well, like Australians are like really revered in sport, like especially like at the Olympics. If you go back to England during the Olympics, I would say an Aussie would probably get just as much Australian coverage as an English person would, because it's kind of the next team they go to, the next country.
It's funny you say that because there's probably an argument to be mounted that swimming is Australians' Australia's national sport. But can you? I mean, I'm not going down to the local leisure centre and supporting swimmers. Like, I don't know. Like, it's
swim along.
Yeah, the swim along. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. It's. I think it's a real consider. In fact, there's a TV ad about what's Australia's number one sport. Like, I don't think anyone really knows, which can be. It's a good thing, but I think that.
Rashford from 30 yards out. As you can see, because we're talking about swimming, that's how eventful the first 50 minutes have been going. But Rashford out of nowhere, and tell you what, Rashford just quietly since the goal, a lot more involved.
And Blues fan, I'm going to take you up on that one. I do agree with you; it can't be a national sport. But if you think they only swim once every 4 years, the Commonwealth Games, so it's at least once every 2 years, not 4 years. But also the swim meets, mate. I'm related to someone who's a competitive swimmer, and mate, the competitions they go to, you would be below your mind. Yes, the Olympics is the one that gets the coverage, but it's heavily supported more than just once every 4 years. And wooden spoon data, you're right. I obviously saying it played in one state of Victoria, it's a bit of mayonnaise on that. It is, but it can't. AFL can't possibly ever be the national sport for one simple reason: it's not. There's no national team, so it can't be a national sport. So, yeah.
Would you say? This is a great question. National sport. So is it? Yeah. Are we defining national sport that if it's on tomorrow, everyone's watching it?
Melbourne Cup is Australia's national sport. I don't know. I guess so. I think so. I think what is the sport that brings the entire country together is what I would say.
Well, I mean, the Ashes, I've got to admit, like when the Ashes is on, I wouldn't say I feel unsafe, but I cop the most bollocks. Like suddenly I'm not your lovable pom anymore. You're all throwing shit at me. So from that avenue, I think if you asked an English person, we'd assume cricket because, like, whenever we play you at any sport in England, no twat comes to watch you. Apart from at the cricket, you do have a good away spot.
And this is the thing. I think if I had a gun to my head and said make a call on what you think Australia's national sport is, I would say cricket. But the way it's evolving now, I don't think they play enough cricket. Do you know what I mean? And to use what kind of what Blues fan was saying with the swimming, they play one test match in Melbourne? One test match in a state every year. Like, very hard to support or to really fall in love with your cricket team when you really get to see them once a year, unless you go into state. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I would say cricket, but hard to support unless it's the big, like, Ashes or something like that.
I agree. Eric Ten Hag Ramba, but
do Australians even know? Do Australians even know that Australia played England last night in the 2020? Did anyone get up and watch that?
Yeah, you see, that's weird because I was watching that and I was like, I've had no bollocks.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
no one's DM'd me.
Yeah, get to 50.
What's the cricket score? Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. Lawn bowls. Now, Paul, that is a sport I could get around. Absolutely.
Can I just say, Paul, we went when the Olympics was up in Scotland. I mean, when the Commonwealth Games, and they've got lawn bowls as the Commonwealth Games. And tell you what, that was the most fun I have ever had getting pissed watching sport.
A good call. It's a good call.
We went to watch, I think it was Australia versus Canada in the round robin. And we started like chants during the bowling.
Yeah, mate, it's a sport. And you know the thing you love about lawn bowls? It's you always think that you can do it. Do you know what I mean? It's that sport where you're like, shit, I could do that. It's only when you get on there that you realize you're shit.
It's funny you say that because one of my mates played for England, and I didn't realize the bowls were weighted.
Yeah.
That's fucking barmy.
Yeah, it's so good, and yeah, it's kind of like when I watching the Olympics, and sitting there eating a bag of chips, having a couple of beers, and watching the archery, thinking I could do archery. How hard could that be?
Right. If AFL was 16 aside, would you be interested in a super over where you add a 17th player?
That's a. I'm gonna say, I've seen Carlton lose with 16 players. Sorry, I've seen Carlton lose against a team with 16 players on the field. I don't think it'd make a difference, to be honest.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Less is more. You know what? I'm quite bad. I like innovation in sport, so you never see me be like a traditionalist. So you know when we change rules, I'm always up for let's have a crack and see what it looks like. Like I was one of the few when 2020 came out in the UK. I was actually like, this looks pretty cool. Like, because do you remember when did it stop? Do you remember when the Gillette series, right? When it was like England, Australia, and then that one year where you took the piss and you added an Australia A side and they knocked England out. But do you remember when the Tri-Nation series used to mean something like when that one, when they had the coloured shirts because everyone wore white and that meant something?
Yeah, now it's one day cricket. It's just crap now. But those were my favourite, where you had the 3 countries playing the triangular series, and because even just getting to see 2 international teams play against each other was always pretty cool. But look, I don't mind rule changes, except for VAR. I mean, that can get in the bin as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see. But look, update on the game that we are heavily invested in. We did say that. I did say that if it got to the 60th minute, still 2-0, that it was game over. So 3 points.
Well, Southampton haven't done much, and
Rambo
asked a great question. Poker in the Olympics. Well, I mean, they had breakdancing, and I doubt that's a sport anywhere.
Yeah, mate. I tell you what, one of my guilty pleasures is watching professional poker. I am absolute horseshit at it. I always think whatever cards I get, I'm running the gauntlet with these bad boys. So I'm actually terrible. But shit, I love watching. It's my guilty pleasure watching professional poker. I reckon it's awesome.
Don't mind it, actually. Don't mind it.
Billiards or pool, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Pool, don't mind it.
Chess, too slow for me. Chess.
Hey, wooden spoon dart. I don't mind it, Southampton, mate. You know what? If you're gonna have chess, what about chess boxing? My mate got me into chess boxing during COVID because he found a YouTube thing. One of the best things I've ever watched.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. What is it? So you play chess in your box? Is that?
Yeah. So they do I think it's like a 2 minutes of chess.
Yeah.
And then they have 2 minutes boxing, and it's back and forward.
So you get a concussion and you don't know what move you're making. I like it.
Yeah.
That's gross,
mate. I'm telling you. See, wooden spoon dart again. Matt and Peter, legit the best sport all time. End of conversation. Sport is compared, in my opinion, from darts. You'll never get a better atmosphere, better laugh, better game. Fucking brilliant to watch darts. Spot on.
It is. The characters are so good. And again, it's like that sport of lawn bowls. After a few beers, you think, yeah, I can do that. I reckon I could do that. It's that confidence. I'll beat anyone at darts. You're just going to get that one good one.
You see, I agree with this with Paul. And this has happened worldwide. Like like when I went back home to UK, like the fact that like literally everything now, apart from the FA Cup, is on paid TV.
Yeah.
And like, I remember the days where there was a Premier League game on the weekend on just terrestrial TV, so everybody can watch when Sky Sports came into it. There was the extended highlights. There was the Sunday game. Like, that probably has a knock-on effect in everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the money. It's money talks, powers talk. And I think, yeah, you've got to have 15,000 different streaming services to get, like, I know when West Ham were in Europe, I had to have Stan Sport to watch them in Europe. It's just like, how much am I paying, to...
Yeah, Mrs. Pom hates me when when a new streaming service comes out of the joint bank account.
yeah.
And she's like, what are we watching now? Wooden Spoon, the biggest misconception about my country, no one pays TV license. Legit. Like, if you've got any mates who are English who have ever paid their TV license, ditch them as mates, because it never happens. Like, honestly, you get this little pink letter. They say, we're watching you. We're going to come and arrest you. Fucking never happens. Honestly, it's a Mickey Mouse. I call it an idiot's tax. Only idiots have ever paid their TV license.
Love it.
My pop used to light his cigarettes with the TV license when it used to come through. Don't pay it. Pretend tax.
How good. How good. And big Harry Maguire looks like he's coming on.
Big slab head coming on. So we're going to see a goal here. You know what? Blues fans makes a real good call, right? Because we were actually talking about this. I did a golf lesson a couple of weeks ago, and someone asked me, what's harder, a hole-in-one, a 9-darter, or a 147, like in snooker? And like I said, golf is one of the most underrated sports, but why I think it's so frustrating is because, a bit like darts, just one dart goes in the treble 20. For a moment, you know what it's like to be the best in the world, where you're never going to be able to kick a goal on the run at the G as a normal person. As a golfer, you can have a birdie. You can hit a 30-foot putt. You can hit it to within 2 inches from 150 meters. So 1 out of 1,000 times, you know what it's like to be the greatest. Where few sports allow you that opportunity to experience what it's like to be good, even if you're shit, just once. And then you get the understanding of how hard it is to be consistently good. And I just think that's a fascinating thing about sports like that, how hard it is to be consistently good at something. And that's why golf, darts, things like that, I think give you that real time. You do it and your mate gets excited. He's had a 180 because he's been pissed and he's thrown 3 darts. Ask him to do it again. Won't happen in a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, my old man always talks about his hole-in-one that is his greatest sporting moment. And he's won multiple best and fairest and multiple premierships and all that stuff. And yeah, and he still talks about his hole-in-one that he got as a 60-year-old man. So,
see, Rambo makes a good point as well. Interesting fact: no one ever means a hole-in-one, right? Because on a par 3, idiots aim for the hole.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, absolutely.
Idiots aim for the hole. So every hole-in-one ever
is a fluke.
Is a fluke. It's a bad shot.
It is.
I remember one of my hole-in-ones I had, and I never forget the conversation. I'm going to leave it 10 foot short of the hole. It's an easy right to left, and I caught it thin, so it went lower and it skidded on and it went in. And do you think I told anyone other than my playing partner that day it was a fucking luck? Nah, I was like, I knew it was a 7-iron, bit into wind, played it a bit lower. Absolute line out of it, but completely fucking fluke.
But that's the best part about it. That's what it's about.
Harry Maguire has been on 42 seconds and he's got yellow cards. So good times.
In
this
other
game,
news,
it's interesting. I think Ahmad's had a couple of moments in this second half, but interesting. United have really reacted to Southampton, almost just trying to shut shop up.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Which you would. Is there an element, if you were United, though, lack of confidence, you maybe find that killer instinct?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's important, perhaps, to maybe not change the bar to what we said at the start, and that's just get the 3 points. That's confidence enough at the moment, maybe.
I suppose.
Yeah, but if I offered you 2-0 before the game, you'd have bitten my arm off, mate. So
I would have bitten your arm off as well, Faz. I'm not going to bullshit here and say I demand 7-0s. Interesting, United are bringing on Maguire and then they're bringing on Johnny Evans.
Yeah. Bulking up their back. Maybe Delete just might not be able to run out the minutes.
Fascinating, though.
Yeah.
A lot of young kids on the bench, attacking players. This is one of them games where you maybe bring a young 18-year-old striker on and
get a fill up. Yeah,
say have a bit of a dance, buddy. Have a bit of an enjoyment. Go out there and have a bit of fun. Especially United not having Hodgland back for 3 weeks. It's probably a good opportunity to rest your striker, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I would have thought so. Last 15 minutes, but I was just saying. In other news, Paquetá's been dropped from West Ham. So on the bench.
Ooh, tell you. Martinez does come off. So we're going to see a bit more Delit. And Johnny Evans, who I fucking can't believe he's still. I tell you what, Faz said if I said 2-0 at the start, you'd bite my arm off. If you told me when I was 18, Johnny Evans would still be at the United when I was 38, I definitely wouldn't have bit your arm off. Rambo's an AC Milan supporter. Don't have the financial muscle on the stadium. Didn't AC Milan get bought out by that weird family after Berlusconi?
It sounds familiar.
Let's have a look. Who the fuck are Redbird Capital? Yeah, some Yankees, wasn't it? Yeah. When everyone started being obsessed with Americans, and I was like, keep Americans out of football. That's my motto. Kick Americans out of football.
No, I do agree. On that.
Just owning, they can play it. I just put a ban on American owners.
The players are all right because the players have played it since they were younger. It's the owners who think that they can make a quick buck.
Yeah, that's the problem though with Americans. Is Americans run sport like NBA and stuff where it is like a business. It's like a franchise business.
Oh, mate, and I find Americans so what's the word? So over the top, infuriating. Now I understand he's Canadian, but it's the same thing. But this Ryan Reynolds thing with Wrexham, it was cute and fun.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. It is. Let's be serious.
Sorry, Canadians out there.
No, I'm not. If it was cute and fun when he took over with that Rob. See, that's the thing. I don't even know the other guy's name. That's how shit it is. Rob McElhinney or whatever. Yeah, fun. I watched the first series on Disney. I'm like, hey, this is cute. This is fun. And then it's just like, are you serious? Oh, I thought this was a gimmick. Oh, okay. This is stupid now.
Well, their captain Stevens has just been given a red card for a needless tackle on Alejandro Garnacho. He's arguing about it, but
mate,
Garnacho had completely done him. And Looks like it's game over for Southampton.
And Ramsdale looks happy at oh jeez. That's a
stupid tackle. Like you're beating all ends up.
Yeah. You're gonna have 3 weeks, son.
I could see you doing that, Faz, arguing you tried to get the ball.
Many times. Many times.
like I watched it in real time as you were talking. I'm like, how's this not a straight red? There was like a delay from it. I was like, this better not be one of them sympathy downgrades because you're 2-0 down. Like, that's assault. I agree with American sports. Yeah. You know what I find fascinating about Americans though in football, and Faz has got the point. They over romanticize everything, like the Believe thing from fucking that weird show. What is it?
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, like honestly, absolutely has ruined it because it's everywhere. Everyone thinks it means something. I'm like, if you've ever worked as a tea lady in professional sport, that has no place. Everything that happens in Ted Lasso wouldn't work in a professional sports club unless you wanted to lose. But it's how the Americans romanticize stuff. Like, and then they think they know everything because they're American. Like, you look at the Todd at Chelsea, having the audacity to go into Poch and tell him about team selections. He didn't even know anything about football.
Yeah. Insane.
You know,
I do agree.
It's funny. Egg talks about the thing. Do you know when you go to the game as well? That them ad break. I used to watch the NBA in the UK, and then when it came to London, I didn't realize the timeouts and then them long ad breaks. I thought they just carried on playing. But it is literally stop-start. Like, I was at the NBA, it's like 12 seconds of play. And then there's, like, music coming on. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, so the Americans over-fantasize everything. And then the Australians want to be just like the Americans. It's like, I'm waiting for it. I'm actually surprised it hasn't come out yet. But it'll come. Who's going to be the first moron to genuinely run with the AFL are looking at timeouts in quarters to stop runs of goals?
Don't say it, mate. Don't say it out loud because they can see 2 minutes of ad revenue there.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, we've just had Brisbane pile on 6 goals to win a final. We've just teams. Runs of goals have never been at a higher thing. It's going to happen. Someone is going to make the suggestion. Someone. I'm tipping Craig Hutchinson. There we go.
I think that's a great... You know what? Egg reviews. This is a great point as well. Like when the time is running out and we're there for 6 hours. Yeah. You know what? Actually... I'm not. Don't want to spoil the video I'm doing, but I was doing a video about some draft history, and I forgot when I first came in. Do you remember the draft was 2 hours long?
Yeah,
and it was literally all the list managers were on tables in front of the CEO.
Yeah.
And the first round took about an hour as they told you about the player, but then it was like rapid fire. It was like on the clock, 30 seconds. Pick 21, this player. Richmond on the clock. And I was like, fuck, this was way better.
Yeah.
Like, when did it stop?
Now it takes four hours to do 29 picks on the first night or whatever it is. And then it's so true.
Sosa might be confused. You said up Chelsea. And then 5 seconds later, you said up Millwall. Like, if you've said go Chelsea, go Millwall, you wouldn't be welcome at the Den. Jesus.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game to be playing, my friend.
Jesus. Well, United are signalling to make a sub. And Dallo looks confused. United's bench look confused. And they're playing on. Bizarre minute of play there. So I suppose, the game's going to whittle out 5 minutes to play, but if it stays like this, United will job well done, innit? 3 points.
Yeah.
Take it, move on, go back home.
Well, that's what you got to do. Take the 3 points. That's what I said. At the start of the game, there comes a time where you've just got to get a result, and this is one of them. This is just one of those games where you just got to get a result, and you've got it.
Early signs of worry, would you say, how basically the sting of Southampton, they threatened a bit in the opening 20. They made some chances, but worrying signs already, Faz, would you say, of kind of how quickly their heads went down? And we know in the Premier League, you've got to be up for the fight, haven't you?
Worrying signs. Let me try and think how I can word this diplomatically. I think they're gone already. I've watched this game and I've watched the other games. Something dramatically would have to change for them to even get close to survival, I think.
Well, you talked about Moisey. Would it be someone that maybe Southampton turn to? Because you look at the squad that they've got. It's hard to see any grit in that team, isn't it? There isn't that old school, outside of Lallana, who's been there and done it, but you don't really see like that old school, I've been there, I've done it player.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing, these promoted, and that's why I really admire what Ipswich has done with their transfer window, is that these teams time and time again getting promoted, and they're trying to back a system or back a philosophy, where reality is when you get into the Premier League, you need English experience. Do you know what I mean? You need your fighters, you need your dogged performers to just play and get you out, and they might not be the sexiest footballers going around. Which is why every season it shocks me that promoted teams haven't tried to sign Aaron Cresswell. There's a bloke who could just plonk at left back, 34 years old, durable. Yeah, he's not the sexiest player going around, but tell you what, in a relegation fight, I'd much rather have Aaron Cresswell there than even Emerson, who's West Ham's current left back. Like, in a relegation fight, that's who you want. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I did think Southampton's window kind of with Ipswich getting Calvin Phillips and stuff, people who are Premier League versed. I like that. I really, really liked that type of signing for them. I'm just watching this game. United haven't really been threatened, and I would have thought this is one of them games, if you're a bottom three side, relegation, I hate to say it about my beloved Reds, but you'd be thinking maybe there's a chance here we can snag a point.
Yeah, they should have been going to this United game thinking they're gettable. But it is what it is, and they're not, and I think that's just a reality. And people can say what they want, and if you're never satisfied, then so be it, whatever. But first game after an international break, new signings started. You got minutes. Rashford scored a goal, keep a clean sheet. I don't know what more United fans would want. I think this has been the perfect scenario.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, bit disappointed the second half at the start. We didn't take it to them. I felt like this could have done with a 3 or 4 goal, but
yeah. Well, I did say 5-0.
United's away form has been so poor at times. It's nice to see. Nice to see a clean sheet and just get try and get some momentum going, because catastrophic it would have been, wouldn't it? Catastrophic.
It would have been a nightmare
if they didn't win.
Yeah, even a draw would have been a big issue. So
Interesting, but where to now for both of these clubs, Faz? Southampton, obviously needing points. Like, what do you think has to change for them? Is it system? Is it personnel? Like, when will they start worrying? Because it's going to be four losses in a row now. Probably going to end the week bottom. Like, when's it time to start panicking if you're a Southampton fan?
Look, you don't want to panic because I think there are enough teams. Like, you've got Everton, you've got Wolves, who I think aren't great. You've obviously got Ipswich. You've got Crystal Palace, who have started extremely poorly. And then you've got Leicester. I think it's no time to panic because those are the teams. You need to look at the fixture, look when you're going to be playing. Here we go. Oh, you're going to look when you're going to be playing those teams and say, okay, you got to just beat the blokes around you, beat the teams around you, and then go from there. But if there's not panicking yet. But I mean, who have they got? Let's have a look who they've got coming up, because that'll be an indication of when to start panicking. So their matches coming up, mate. Oh, that's the EFL Cup. Never mind. Well, they got Ipswich this time next week. They got Ipswich at home. Will you lose that? Maybe that's the time to start panicking. Bournemouth
it's going to be
away,
interesting for him because, I mean, I always think you can see a lot. Like when one of the bottom clubs plays a side like United after the international break, 2 disappointing losses. One of the more easier 3-0s last week from Liverpool.
Yeah, I think looking at this, by middle of November, Southampton would have played Wolves, Everton, Leicester, and Ipswich with, Arsenal and Man City. So we'll know more about Leicester come mid-November. Southampton come mid-November. And that's when it's probably the time to, if they don't get enough points in that time, that's when it's time to panic. And as far as United goes, you said, it's just one you got to build on. Do you get much out of it? Probably not. Do you go sing from the rooftops like you did when you beat Fulham? Absolutely not. It's just building on from this. Crystal Palace away next week. I mean, that's another chance to get big points because, like I said, they've started shit. And then European football starts, and we know that's
going to be the test of United, isn't it? Because
it's going to be a test of a lot of teams.
Yeah, you'd say for Ten Hag as well, being in a competition that obviously with the name, probably not the form, United go into that feeling, rightly so, with the pedigree, that they be in with a chance in the Europa. But it's going to be interesting because Ten Hag needs titles, doesn't he?
He does, and I think you are right with what you're saying. The name Manchester United maybe doesn't hold the fear in the Premier League as it once did, but I can tell you now, against some of these European teams, the name still holds fear. Old Trafford still holds fear. So they can probably dine out a little bit on that. But Ten Hag needs trophies, but he also needs trophies and then not to brag about the trophies that he's got. So
he does. I mean, I think from my point of view, like just watching the second half, Ahmad and Garnacho, for me, have to start against Palace. Just seeing Garnacho attack that left-hand side, which we didn't really see Rashford do. He took his goal well, but it does feel really not direct, doesn't it, with United? It feels really cautious in patches of the game, which it's going to cost you, because I feel like this game will be one of them games they'll come off and feel like, would 4-0 have got that momentum going? Would blowing the cobwebs off?
Perhaps. Yeah, look, you can look at it both of those ways, I think. I mean, Harry Maguire has been a car crash since he's come on, to be honest. Like, he's just He's been horrible.
Wait, he stubbed his toe. He got a yellow card within 12 seconds. He's had a damer, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's so you can look at that in itself, but look, I tend to lean more into the camp of first game after an international break, jet lagged legs, getting minutes in him. Ugarte, he'll obviously start sooner rather than later, you would have thought. And I would.
It's interesting to see him being so deep. We talked about that in the first half. Like, his natural position since coming on is really deep, which kind of excites me to see how that opens up Manu a bit.
Yeah. I would agree on that. Yeah. So it'll be. I think it's a good platform for United, and you just move on. You just keep nicking those points, and you can sneak your way up the table pretty quickly and pretty quietly. Like, you know what I mean? Just go about it, and everyone's going to have their focus on City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. All of a sudden, you think, "Oh shit, Man United!"
Ganacho!
Yeah, that's a finish. But how was the ball?
Ganacho Delors, as we always talk about, just make sure your cross is right. Cuts it back, and great celebration. You love to see it.
And the Mo Kudos celebration.
Ten Hag with the most serious celebration you've ever seen. And Russell Martin, who is probably just trying to check if he has got any Spanish heritage.
No, this ball is outrageous. Oh, who's that Southampton bloke? The top.
You know what? Say what you want about Casemiro, but he's still got it in the terms of his.
That ball was outrageous.
Do you know what I mean? Like the legs are dying, but the moment of class lives supreme. But you know what? Interesting one that though, because we said at the start, Garnacho and Ahmad were probably the wingers we're looking at, worrying with Rashford's form. But you know what? Garnacho, since he's come on, he's been very direct on that left-hand side. To go with Ahmad,
I've loved it. And
interesting.
It may sound silly, but 3-0 looks better than 2-0.
It just doesn't. The final whistle goes.
It's a lot better. Yeah.
And United with a good finish. A good finish to the game that it really did need a goal in that second half. It was a drab affair, but you take the 3 points at the moment. I mean, United can't think top four with the last two games.
Yeah.
You've got to get them wins.
Mate, you take the 3 points. As I said, 2-0. You start saying, "Oh, a goal here or there," and it might have been different. But when it's 3-0, it's that's a spanking. So, it's a solid win. Got the 3 points, clean sheet. Rashford on the score sheet, and minutes into Delit, Ugarte come on. I think that's, if you offered that, what the perfect day out for United would be, that'd be pretty close.
Mate, 3 points in the bank. It's what we needed. Just looking at the fantasy team, Faz. Thank God Garnacho came on and scored, because I had him starting.
Oh dear.
So well done, Alejandro, and I had Delit. So good starts, but
and my boy got injured, I think. Did he?
Who?
Missouri. What's his name?
No, I think I think we were just rotating him.
Oh, yeah. I just saw him with he injured. That's my boy. He's my whole back line is built around him.
But I mean, to be fair though, we've talked about it. United needed the 3 points, and Anthony nailed it as well. What he said when he came in chat earlier, that if we didn't win, we talked about it at the start of the show. That as soon as them conversations start happening, it's game over. I mean, four games in, if you're being talked about being sacked at Manchester United, the chances are you're going to get sacked by Manchester United. So it's probably a big win in the terms of things, isn't it?
Massive win. And like I said, you just move on. You move on pretty quick.
Is our friend Paul in Blue Abroad chat?
Surely not. Oh, mate.
If you're not in the Blue Abroad chat group, me and Faz absolutely run.
I hope it wasn't Paul that fell for it.
No, it wasn't. It was.
I feel bad.
No, it wasn't. It was
Chris,
someone
a guy
else.
named Chris. Yeah. Oh, mate. Every day it was a guy named Chris. Does it every time? Your mum. Here we go. Here's another one. Every time I think, I'm gonna do one, and this one's too obvious for someone to fall for, and they always fall for it. I still reckon the best one was sliding. That was still the best one.
Paul, me and Faz were texting at like 1 a.m. going, I love the fact that we still find it funny, like 13-year-olds. Do you know what I mean? That we're there giggling to ourselves as we drop something and we get a bite. But you know what, chat? Great to see you. We'll be back with another watch along next week. We're going to go and have a snack, and I'm sure Faz is going to get ready to watch his boys in claret and blue. But we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next week.
See you.